The effect that the crucifixion had on Jesus' followers was the desired effect from the Roman perspective. That is, that people who were associated with Jesus were terrified. I mean, before the Easter proclamation, there must have been some kind of Easter panic, you see, that folks were hiding out, as they should have, because now they were accomplices of an executed criminal.
The followers of Jesus, who don't go away as they're supposed to when Pilate does this, have to deal with that fundamental question. What does this mean? That the one that we had all of these expectations about has been crucified. How do we deal with this, not merely the end of this life, but the shameful end of this life?
The only place they can go eventually is into the Hebrew Scriptures, into their tradition, and find out, is it possible that the elect one, the Messiah, the righteous one, the holy one, any title they use of Jesus, is it possible that such a one could be oppressed, persecuted, and executed? They go into the Hebrew Scriptures, and of course what they find is that it's almost like a job description of being God's righteous one, to be persecuted and even executed.
And the amazing thing is they said, hey, Pilate's right. He was the king of the Jews. And moreover, God has vindicated this claim that he is the king of the Jews by raising him from the dead.
An angel of the Lord, descending from heaven, came and rolled back the stone. He said to the women, Jesus, who was crucified, he has been raised. Come, see the place where he lay.
The stories about the resurrection in the Gospels make two very clear points. First of all, that Jesus really, really was dead. And secondly, that his disciples really and with absolute conviction saw him again afterwards. The Gospels are equally clear that it's not a ghost. Even though the raised Jesus walks through a shut door in one of the Gospels or suddenly materializes in the middle of a conference his disciples are having, he's at pains to assure them, touch me, feel me, it's bones and flesh. In Luke, he eats a piece of fish. Ghosts can't eat fish. As an historian, this doesn't tell me anything about whether Jesus himself was actually raised. But what it does give me an amazing insight into is his followers, and therefore indirectly into the leader who had forged these people into such a committed community.
According to the book of Acts, Christianity began at a single place, at a single moment in time.
All right. What that clip shows is the handling of theology by the early church. And it might not have been obvious, except perhaps in the last remark made by Paula Fredrickson. But basically what was being argued is that the understanding of the significance of Jesus' death was something that the early church came up with and determined, and doesn't really go back to what Jesus himself taught. The idea that there would be a suffering Messiah who would die a shameful death is something that the early church figured out and taught about Jesus. It's not something that has roots in anything Jesus did and said himself. Now,